So we learned about the culmination or even the perfection of figurative sculpture of the Buddha coming to be with this Gupta period style of Buddhist sculpture. Here, this magnificent example from Sarnath, in which we can see why is this Gupta style considered so perfect that it will then become a model for images of the Buddha throughout the centuries, throughout millennia, across time and space. Part of it is because of its exquisite balance between a sense of the Buddha as an ideal of serenity and calm, but also a very real human. Like there's a real marvelous ability to make the limbs proportionate, to give it lifelike qualities. The fingers really do seem to be lifting up and touching. And then there's this amazing clarity of form, the clarity of the contours of the limbs and the shoulders and the face, clarity into very simplified shapes that do evoke a sense of a clarity of mind, a mind uncluttered. There's a graciousness and a gracefulness. So in many ways, this sculpture is, in a sense, the classical image of the Buddha, and it is tied to the Gupta period as a classical period in Indian art. If you consult the definition of classical in Google, you'll see that number one, you're told it's relating to ancient Greek or Latin literature, art, or culture. Because in the Western hemisphere, those cultural moments are considered a foundation and a standard for what comes later. But actually, in India, the Gupta period is a classical time, in the sense of a time of great achievement that sets the standard, right? So look at the second definition of classical, typically used for a form of art, representing an exemplary standard, traditional and long established in form or style. So whether it's in ancient Greek or the Gupta period in ancient South Asia, classical refers to a style of cultural achievement that is so beloved and so exemplary that it doesn't ever die out. It lives on forever as a kind of a tradition. And you will learn more about the Gupta period, roughly 300s to 550 CE, in the next installment of the video series, The Story of India, which does a great job of kind of animating its achievements. This dynasty, the Gupta dynasty, had the same capital that the Mauryan dynasty had, and it is definitely a golden age, not just about art, but about math, about science. You'll learn about its studies of cosmology, and we get incredibly important Buddhist artwork, such as what I'm calling the classical Buddha image, and a marvelous series of painted caves, the Ajanta cave, so beautiful. A little side note here, South Asia had a glorious painting tradition at this time. Unfortunately, not much of it has survived. You can see this exquisitely beautiful fresco painting of a bodhisattva. We'll talk about that later, what a bodhisattva is. But it is, you can see it's damaged, right? There's pieces missing because in the hot humid climate of South Asia, paintings don't tend to survive the way sculptures do. So remember, we're looking at what has survived, not the entirety of what was achieved. And then what's also important is that at this time that the Gupta Buddha emerges, Hindu art is growing prominent. And we're going to see a flowering of Hindu sculpture and architecture. And so you will see the same Gupta style being used to represent the Hindu god Vishnu. So different subject matter, different iconography. The Buddha is not a god. Vishnu is a great deity. He is asleep on the cosmic waters with the eternal serpent singing his praises. So it's a very different situation than sitting in the lotus position, meditating and teaching the Dharma. But in both, you see this kind of smooth contour that gives a quality of clarity and simplicity, of flow and harmony that is the hallmark of the Gupta style.